Hey, welcome. Today we're going to talk about the Attraction Assistance Pass at Universal Orlando Resort. It looks just like that. What we're going to do is talk about what the pass is for those of you who don't um, know about what the pass does yet. Also, how do you get one? How is it different than just an express pass that you would pay for? And then how to use it and some tips and tricks we've learned on how to manage a day with a child that has a disability that makes theme parks difficult at times. So first of all, what is the pass?
It is a pass that doesn't make you wait in lines.
With the attraction assistance pass, there's still some waiting, and we'll go into that. But you generally wait in the express line instead, which is significantly shorter for most attractions. You can have the person with the disability on there that has a hard time waiting in lines, and then five other people. Um, Incidentally, we are foster parents, so sometimes we'll have some extra kids. So we took Christmas time. We took some extra kids, and we had seven in our party. And here comes pause again. We had seven in our party, and so I actually called ahead of time, and I was kind of like, "Hey, am I going to have to pay?" Because we really couldn't afford to buy our bonus kids tickets with another express pass for a few days to make the assistance pass work. So I just asked, "Hey, will they give it to us?" And they actually processed it online. I don't think they normally do it that way, but they processed it and they gave me a code to give them when I got there. And so I got there and I gave them the code, and they automatically issued us a pass for seven. They made sure to tell us that that was the exception. That's not normally the way they do it. Normally, it has to be a party of six. And the big thing to get these is you have to have a reason that you can't wait in line or that your child can't wait in line. It doesn't giving them the name of a disability isn't enough. They actually won't even take that. You have to be able to say why that person who's getting this pass is unable to wait in a traditional line for an extended period of time. We'll talk about why we need it, just for reference, so you guys know what we're talking about. One of our kids is on the autistic spectrum, and so he can wait in a line for, maybe he could wait in one long line. Like we could get in a 30-40 minute line with him and he might be okay. The second time we need him to do that, it's not going to go so well. And then the third time, he's just not going to get in line. Like we're going to have meltdowns and stuff. So really, we would be able to go to the park and have access to maybe a couple of rides that had lines, and then we would be done for the day. There would be nothing else that we would be able to do. And even those would be difficult because in the line we would be having serious meltdowns. So clearly, like for us to be able to experience Universal Orlando as a family, we would have to have some kind of accommodation so that the line time is shorter. And so we found out about this and asked about it when we showed up at the parks. Go into how do you get one?
Well, you get one of these at guest services.
Yeah, you just go to guest services in the park and and tell them that you're interested in an attraction assistant pass. What they'll do is they'll say, "Well, we'll need to ask you a couple questions and then evaluate your need to decide if you really need one of those passes." And it was really simple. Basically, last time we went, they said, "Hey, without naming the disability itself, why does your son need a pass?" And so my answer was, my son has a disorder that affects his senses. There's a partial sensory disorder. He has a very difficult time waiting in lines, and we often, with even shorter lines, will have meltdowns and stuff. He also has a hard time standing still. He bumps into people, so it's just really difficult. That's pretty much what I said, and then they started processing the passes. So it's really simple. It was really basically me saying, I didn't say that he was on the autistic spectrum or anything like that. The first time I remember being really nervous that we wouldn't get it, and so when we went to get it the first time, I like had his
IEP.
I had his IEP pulled up on my phone. I had his psychological ready to go, and obviously, like they said, we can't look at any of that. They were not interested in any of that. They just took me at my word and started working on the pass. And like the last time I said, I kept it really short, really sweet. This is why we need one, and then they gave us the pass. It wasn't too bad at all. How is this different than an express pass? First, we had 2 nights where we were fortunate enough to be able to find a good rate on a premium hotel. And with that came free Express Pass. So we've had Express Pass before. After having this for a trip, the next trip we had Express Pass. I can tell you that Express Pass is better. If you can get into a premium hotel and you can do Express Pass, it's a little easier. So this isn't as good as Express Pass. The major difference is that you get return times for anything over like 25 minutes or so. So if you go to a ride and it's in general 25 minutes or less, they're going to let you get right on that ride. Now, they say that it's up to the attraction. In our experience, though, we've never been held with a ride that's 25 minutes or less. Even most 30-minute ride times will let you on into the express. Not immediately, I mean, you get into the express line. So anything like 25 minutes below, sometimes 30 minutes below, they're going to let you ride into the express line and you don't have to get a return time. So essentially, if the ride wait time is that low, it is just like Express Pass. There's no real difference. The difference is if you have a long wait time, above 30 minutes usually, you're going to get a return time. So like, let's say the wait time's 45 minutes, they're going to give you a return time probably, depending on the ride, about 30 minutes later. And the reason they do that is because they're saying, well, they're probably going to wait in line in the express line for maybe 15 minutes, so we need to just do 30, and that means it's the same. So the idea is to make sure that we're waiting with this pass the same amount of time as if we were in the traditional line. And in our experience, the express lines move faster enough to where it makes a huge difference, and our son's able to handle it a lot more. So to use the pass, you just go up to the express line, and there'll always be an employee every express line. And like I said, if the wait time's below 25 minutes, you just show them this. Keep it out if they haven't scanned it, because they're going to scan it once you get into the ride a little bit more. And then you're going to go right through the express line and go on. If the wait time is above like 25, 30 minutes, then what they'll do is they'll just open it up and they'll give you a return time. And when you're ready, when that time is up, you can go back, give it to them again, they'll initial it, and then they'll scan you in when you get in, and you'll go through the express line then. So you're doing the waiting, you're just doing it somewhere else, and that somewhere else is usually a place that's going to be more tolerable for whoever it is that needs this pass. In our example, we can get our son into a place with air conditioning, or we'll talk about some different things that we've done to make it work. But basically, not being in that line where he can move around and do different things makes a huge difference for him, and means that we can enjoy more of the park and not have to, rush off because of meltdowns and stuff like that. So now we're going to talk about some tips and tricks, things that we've learned to make this pass work the best for us. And I got a few written down. If we have any more, we just go ahead and add them as well. So first is just visiting at the right time of the day. That makes all the difference in the world. So the way it is for us, and I know everyone's experience is different, but with ours, really both of the kids, both of our biological children, but especially the one that needs this pass, we have a limited amount of time we're going to spend at the parks. So we realize that. We're not going to get there when they open, leave when they close, and stay all day. If we were going one day, we might make it, but it would be rough. By the time we were done, we would be exhausted. So when we used to try to go, the first time we went, we would start in the morning and go as much as we could, stop, and we were still done, before dinner time, and really our son couldn't handle anymore. So what we've learned to do, and this will work if you have multiple days. If you have one day at the park, it may not, because you're going to want to maximize that one day. But if you have multiple days and you have time, what we've learned to do is we go early in the morning. We do early park admission. The early morning time's easier for him anyway. And then we can get the big rides. He loves Hagrid's. He loves Forbidden Journey. He loves all those Harry Potter rides. So we can get those early rides done out of the way before the line gets really bad. Like we try to get there an hour before the park opens. And I know an hour is a long time to wait, but when we get there an hour before the park opens, so if the park opens at 8, we're there at 7. And if we're there at 7, we're still kind of waiting, but you know what? He can move around. He can go off to the bathroom. We can do some different things. It's early in the morning. Sometimes he can just sit and he's fine. So we do that waiting up front, and then we can get on to Hagrid's. We don't even need this. We get on to Hagrid's, and it's almost a walk-on. And then we could go to the Forbidden Journey, do those other rides that he really loves to do, and get those done early. If we do that, we're not doing a lot of waiting. They'll still scan these. Incidentally, during those early park hours, you can't use a normal express pass, but they will scan these. We've never tried with Hagrid's because we usually just get there early and just jump in, and we're one of the first ones through. It's just the way that we like to do it. But then we'll go to Forbidden Journey and we'll scan this in so that we can go through and we'll be the only ones in the express line because not many, they're not taking express at that time of day. So that makes a huge difference. What were you going to say?
One way you can skip a lot of people in line is bringing fanny packs because you can take those onto Hagrid's. And then you're skipping even more people as they're putting their backpacks up.
Yeah, when we're going to early park and
we
we're
don't
trying to
bring
get through
anything.
these, just so that we're not waiting in lines much in the day, we keep it very minimal for those early park hours and the first few hours of the day. Fanny pack, not bringing extra stuff that needs to be shoved into lockers, makes a huge difference on just getting onto several rides before the lines get bad. The last time we went, just from that strategy of just riding as much as we can in the morning, taking a break midday when the parks are busiest, and then coming back when the parks start slowing down and some people start leaving kind of on the later side, usually after dinner. So we kind of go through lunch, sometimes eating a late lunch, maybe like 1 o'clock, basically depends on when the parks start getting really busy. And then about the time they start getting really busy, we take off and then come back a little bit later and finish up our day. Just from doing that, like we were at the parks for what, two full days, 2 half days. Mm-hmm. We rode everything there the kids wanted to ride. So that didn't include Velocicoaster and Hulk and Rip Ride Rocket. We rode about everything else. We rode Hagrid's twice. We rode Gringotts 3 times. About everything else. And these are the only return times we did. So you can see that there's just very few times that we actually had to use a return time. And the ones that are marked out are ones that we actually didn't come back for. We had it filled out, and then it just was like, our son can't handle it. We got to go. And we left and canceled those return. Had them cross them out and just got a new return time when we went back for a different ride. So just going at the right time of the day made it a lot more manageable so that most of the rides that we wanted to get on, we could get right into the express line because the lines weren't bad yet. Especially at studios. At studios, if you can get there for early park when they do it, you can get Gringotts. Usually Minions we were kind of slow getting to because we chose to rode Gringotts twice last time. But if we'd gone straight to Minions, we would have been fine. By the time we would have gotten to Minions, because we did Gringotts twice, Minions, the park was open and Minions was already really busy. But you can do Gringotts. Sometimes they'll open Transformers. It just depends for early park. They don't announce that they do, but sometimes we get there and it's open at early park. And then Minions is open. So a lot of times you can get those knocked out. And then the rest of Universal just doesn't get very busy till like noon, right? Mm-hmm. So we find ourselves able to finish most of Universal before on the first day before noon. And we're talking, Universal Studios before noon. Islands is more difficult. But studios, we can get on a lot of stuff. So then we take our break, and we're almost done with that park. So we go back in the afternoon. We have very few things to ride. Sometimes we can just get on something a second time, stuff like that. So visiting at the right time of day makes the parks so much more manageable for our son with a disability because we're not having to find things to do while we're waiting on return times as much. There's a few return times, but just being smart with your time when you go there makes all the difference. The next 2 tips that we've learned kind of go hand in hand. One is knowing which non-ride attractions your child may like to visit. If we're in an area like, let's say that our son wants to ride the Woody Woodpecker ride and it has a 40-minute wait. Well, we can get that time and we can go to the little ball play area in the Curious George space. And he loves playing there. It's air conditioning. We can sit down. He just plays, and then that gives him something to do while we're waiting on our ride time. Well, the first time we went, we didn't even know that was there. So
we just thought it was like this water thing, and
yeah,
we're like, that looks miserable.
So, and just familiarizing yourself with what is around. There's like Camp Jurassic in Islands of Adventure. There's like this boat thing in Islands of Adventure that our son likes to play on. There's the Curious George area in studios. There's just some different things that the kids like to play on, and sometimes that can take up some time while you're waiting on a return time. So knowing where those things are is important. I plan on making some videos on different areas and going into some of those details. So look for those in the future, and subscribe if you'd like to see that. And going right in with that is also, in our experience, and I don't think that this is cheating the system. We haven't been told we can't do this. But if you can get shorter lines while you're waiting on your reserve time, you can break things up a lot. So, for example, we checked the app the other day when we were there, and we saw that Transformers was a 25-minute wait time. So for Transformers, that means that we can go and we can get right into Express. And Minions had a 1 hour wait time. It was pretty long. It was not good. And in our experience, the Minions Express line was much slower than a lot of Express lines. So a lot of Express lines with a lot of rides with a 1 hour ride, the Express might be 20 minutes. They say half, but a lot of times it's less. Minions, the Express line is not much faster. I don't know what it is about that ride. So
it was a lot faster, I think, than you think that it is.
Maybe so. I don't know. But so since I can walk faster and I don't mind doing it, what we did was I just kind of walked. We said, hey, we're going to meet back at Transformers. I walked ahead to Minions. The person with the disability has to be with you to ride the ride, is what they say. That's kind of on the honor system, but we've always done it that way because we don't want to ruin this, so we try to do it right. But they don't have to be with you to get the return time. So I'll just walk ahead, I'll grab a return time at Minions, and then I came back and I met them at Transformers, and they're kind of just hanging out, waiting on me. And then we went right into to Transformers. They scanned this when we got in. They just let us through because the line was short enough where we didn't need a time. We got to ride Transformers. And when we were done, we just had a little more time, and then we were able to go to Minions. We've done that a lot of times. Going back to Woody Woodpecker, sometimes that'll have a long line and E.T. won't. Or sometimes it's the opposite. I mean, the other day we did, Woody Woodpecker was a 25-minute wait. E.T. was like a 40. So on our way to Woody Woodpecker, we got a return time for E.T., went to Woody Woodpecker, got right on Woody Woodpecker, got off, and then we were able to get right on to E.T. So just like doing that, sometimes it means that one person in your group's going to have to do some walking, but for us, it makes a difference because, like I said, we have a limited amount of time in the parks before we start having meltdowns and stuff like that. So we know that we have to make the best use of that. So I don't mind walking around and taking a few extra steps to try to get these return times, and then coming back and riding these other things to keep my son busy, keep the kids having fun, and we're not waiting as much because that helps us have a better time at the park. That has made all the difference in this, being able to just move around and do things like that, especially at Islands of Adventure where a lot of the lines will be bad sometimes. All right, and then the last thing that I thought is that I didn't realize until recently is we've gone several times over the past year because we're pass holders, and each time we kind of had that having to answer questions and explain when we went to pick up the pass. But there was one time that they weren't giving me a hard time about getting it or anything. It's always been easy. But they said that I should keep the old pass because they said telling them that we've had one in the past is not a guarantee that we'll get one. Basically, we're going to have to answer the questions and give the correct answers every time. So he said if you bring this back, then it makes it easier to just issue a new one. And he was right. Last time we actually forgot to do it and we had to answer the questions again. But the time before that, we remembered the old pass. I brought it back. I said, this is my pass from last time. And this only really applies to people who are going to know they're going to go, you're a pass holder or something like that. You're going to go multiple times in a year for whatever reason. But if you bring this back and hand it to them, the time we did that, we didn't get all the questions again. It's like I handed it to them and said we need another attraction assistant pass for our son. And they just wrote it up. They just asked us what dates we'd be there. I think they asked us how many people in our party, but they didn't ask us to go talk about the disability or anything like that. It was quick and easy. So another thing, like I said, if you know that you're going to be going to Universal or think that you may be going to Universal multiple times in the same year or even like 1 year to the next, if you can hold on to this and bring it with you the next time, then it'll make it a lot easier. It's not hard to begin with, but it'll make it even easier to get a new one. We hope to make several videos talking about the parks and our experience of taking our kids to the parks and going over some of those different things. So We encourage you to subscribe to the channel. We're just starting this. It's just kind of a new thing, but we do think that there's not a lot of content specific to families with young kids. Or our kids are not. I don't know if they're young anymore, but they seem young.
Yes.
10 and 8. We don't know if there's a lot of content like that out there, so we hope to be able to provide some fresh insight and some ideas to make the trip even to a great place even better for you guys based on our experience. So thanks for watching.